Welcome to another episode of the When to Play series, the series that tells you when it will be the best time to pick a certain jungle champion. In this episode, it's Jungle Yorick. Jungle Yorick is a very unique jungler in the sense that his utility scales based on what kind of teammates you have. He can become one of the worst champions in the game or one of the best, depending on what your teammates picked. Yorick is perhaps one of the most team-dependent support champions in the game, as his artificial gold value, fake gold that that basically gives you free stats, depends largely on what teammate he decides to ult on. He has both the potentially highest artificial gold value and lowest artificial gold value of any support jungler. Mostly because if he ults a carry, it's obviously worth more gold than if he ulted an under-farm top laner. Jungle Yorick's jungle stats are pretty much average across the board, except in sustain, where he faces a particular dilemma. His mana sustain is just terrible. He needs a spirit item and a mana item of some sort, like Glacier Shroud or Tear of the Goddess, in order to maintain his mana sustain. Without it, he's pretty much worthless. However, his health sustain is ridiculous, largely in part because of the aggro dropping capabilities of his ghouls. In fact, this allows him to solo Dragon very early. As soon as he hits level 6, he's able to take down Dragon with almost no issues, and after that, it's just pretty much trivial. Jungle Yorick is absolutely a terrible first pick. He's too team dependent. You need to see if there's at least one teammate who you can use your ult effectively on. The closer you are to last pick, the better. With that in mind, hyper carries such as Vayne and Kog'Maw are perfect picks for him, along with Tristana and such. Champions like Ezreal and Corki and Lucian are pretty much on the lower end of champions you want to ult. Great non-AD carry champions to ult are champions such as Riven, Cassiopeia, Brand, and anyone with pretty much spammable abilities. Having any of these champions on your team makes Yorick a much more attractive pick. But of course, this does not mean you can't use your ultimate on champions that are, not as powerful with it, such as a Sona who gets killed before she gets to use your ultimate. If you ult her before she dies as she's getting CC locked and destroyed, then maybe she can come back as a ghoul and use your ultimate and win the game. So using Jungle Yorick's ultimate intelligently is pretty much the most important thing. If it hasn't become obvious yet, he's pretty much best used in protect team comps, such as protect the Vayne, protect the Kog'Maw, protect the Draven, stuff like that. He'll give your important characters a second shot in a team fight to win it. Before they die, at least, because the ultimate wears off. This is Yorick's biggest weakness. He doesn't fit a lot of team compositions, but he does fit the protect team comps very well. He excels extremely well. He's arguably one of the best junglers for these types of team compositions. Jungle Yorick has the uniqueness about him in that his best build is also blue build, and blue builds tend to lean more towards utility, such as the Iceborne Gauntlet or Frozen Heart, and building Randu and Zoman eventually. So he's a support jungler whose support build increases his defense and his offensive capabilities at the same time. Therefore, he's pretty efficient with his gold. And as such, he doesn't always have to live through his teammates, such as most support junglers do. He can ult his teammate and then actually go into the fray and contribute in combat. Either offensively, dogpiling onto the enemy carry or holding off the front line, or defending the MVP, just standing next to them and peeling. And as such, he's arguably one of the most impactful support junglers who is simply not chosen because of how specific his contributions are. As a summary of what we learned today, Jungle Yorick is pretty average across the board. He's got no counter picks either, and he doesn't really counter anybody, so he's pretty much vanilla in that aspect. He's a safe, very safe pick. However, he is dependent on his team comp, so he's not a great first pick, and is better off kept as last as you can, as last pick as possible. He needs at least one teammate that can make good use of his ultimate. Therefore, he ends up becoming very strong in protected team compositions. If you see your teammates pick a Vayne or a Kog'Maw or a Draven, then you can bet your ass that Jungle Yorick can be a very strong pick.